Alright, this is my copy of the Remastered Full Color Edition House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, which is apparently a novel. I was told to read this by someone who had come back from living on the East Coast for a while, and the way he described it was very interesting, so I was like, okay, I want to read it, and I got into it. I've read this book twice. First time I read it completely, all footnotes. The second time I only read the actual story of the Navidson record. That is how I'm going to pronounce the name. The inside of my brain says Navidson, and I know that's not right. So I'm going to say Navidson. Basically, the story is a documentary about the events of this aforementioned house here. And the documentary is described out loud by a blind man named Zampano, who was paying young teenage girls to write down on whatever pieces of paper they could find these pieces of story. And the name of the story is the Navidson record. And one day, this old man dies, and he has no next of kin and no heirs. So the landlord, needing to rent the place out and having a guy come to him and say, hey, my buddy needs a place bad, gives this place to a guy named Johnny Truant. And Johnny Truant is tasked with cleaning up the apartment as he lives there. So what he does is starts going through all of these papers and everything, and he realizes that there's some kind of a narrative or something here, and so he starts stacking them up and seeing what it's going to say. Meanwhile, he's working a job, I believe, at a tattoo parlor. It's been 15 plus years since I've read this. And in the course of the time of doing it and putting together the story, he then decides to go looking for any clue that this documentary as described exists, or the house that it talks about and shows. And so, yeah. The inside of the old man's place was kind of cluttered and weird and messy. There was a lot of stuff. And so what you have here, the cover of the book is a bookmark. But you'll notice the bookmark does not fit the book. So then we got... So I will tell you as I go through here like this, that I'm not reading this book right now. But this book is a cognito hazard of sorts. After reading this the first time, my underlying undiagnosed and unself-aware bipolar was laid bare to me. I had an experience at a workplace that it wasn't just a panic attack. It was there was a brownout, and it felt like the walls changed shape on me. Now the thing is, I also grew up with what they now call Alice in Wonderland syndrome. So, you know, for things to get a little more literal than this thing I'd learned how to ignore, and I ultimately forget about until recently, was kind of activated by this book. It's a very fascinating book. It is full color. There is black, blue, and red ink. Every instance of this word in the book is as thus. It is blue. I'm sorry, Zampano. That's the name. And you can pause that if you want to read it. So what it is with this book is that each font is a different character. So Courier is Johnny Truant. This is the collector of the parts of the story who is trying to present it to the editors. Anything in this font, I believe, is some Pano, and then everything else from here is cryptic. Proceed at your own risk. So you get the story. But throughout the book, there are footnotes. Some of these footnotes are editor footnotes. Some of these footnotes are the old blind man making footnotes for the girls to write down. And that's where the fonts come into play, because the Courier is Johnny. I'm sorry, my hands are shaking. It is cold in this room. And so you get this story, and as I'm flipping through here, basically what you got is this guy. He's an award-winning photojournalist, documentarian, moves his family into a house. He's trying to avoid a divorce. And he puts cameras in everything, and they're going to document their move and their progress and their whatever, and he hopes it'll bring them together. And in ordinary circumstances, such a vain maneuver would not work. Would absolutely not work. You can see here as we go, in many instances, Johnny's footnotes are more than the book. So, oh yeah, it's Will and Karen. And so what happens is, as he's moving his family in to this house on video, he discovers a door in the back wall of the house. And the door in the back wall of the house opens to a hallway that is very cold, very dark. And it's very deep. It goes back a ways. They take a walk back, and they go at least 5.5 minutes before turning around, walking back and getting to their kitchen. This is where the page of the book ends, and this is where the footnotes go. And so this guy Will decides, because he's a documentarian and he's recording stuff and he knows people, he gets a hold of a cave spelunker who, geez, endnotes, just to the chapter. There's footnotes in the footnotes, man. So Johnny may or may not lose his mind. So anyways, they hired this guy named Holloway to explore this cave in their back of their house. Now, here's the weird thing about this cave. When the dog comes running up to the door and goes through it, the dog is just transported to the backyard and runs around like he ran out a back door. And at the back of the house, there's just the outside siding. There's no door. And there's no obvious 5.5 minute long hallway built out of the house. So they take an extended, like, 2-week spelunking journey into this house using radios and like guide wire and stuff, and an assistant and all this stuff. And some really crazy adventures happen. There's things start to be, there's a giant spiral staircase that they come to that they literally spend 2 weeks descending. And then the length of the staircase changes. There's this entire section here. The red text only appears with black strike through. This is so-called deleted footage. But there's obviously a key. And so the text of the book starts to take shape of the explorations that take place in this house. And you can see the blue. The blue is the house. There's... Your eyes do not deceive you. Upside down, backwards. Many of these lists have, like the first letter of every first name spells out a paragraph. And like this is a whole it's all of these. This is the backwards version of the other side of the page. And you flip through it and it says, picture that in your dreams. Meanwhile, of course, the story is unfolding. This is the story of the guy exploring the house and the crazy shit going on inside. 2 weeks down the spiral staircase, 5.5 minutes back from the kitchen exterior wall. Things change size in real time. The maze walls shift. And all this stuff happens. I'm not going to spoil it if you want to read it. I will say it is about love. So, yeah, this continues. And it's action. When you're reading it like this, it moves you at such a pace. It's drawing stuff around behind. If you look at the back sides of pages, there's all of this stuff. See, there's like words in between spaces. Oh, come on, focus, man. But anyways, at this point, all this crazy stuff, we're not even halfway through. So there's records of the, like, transcripts of the videos. This was all dictated by the blind man to the young girls. And then Johnny's stuff going on. There's places where there's no book. There's just Johnny's footnotes. There's, yeah, all this stuff. And so this stuff here with the red, they talk about the Minotaur again. And instead of a key, it looks like a sword, but it's broken. And then this segment is almost shaped like the missing piece. And then some of this stuff I don't even know. You know, it's like interviews with people, folks who have seen it, what they think. It's a whole bunch of crazy stuff. 117, 17 pages missing. There's all kinds of missing data. He's writing love letters to his wife. And Johnny. And then just Davidson's journey to the bottom of the bottomless pit. Sometimes the hallway widens until at one point Davidson swears he is moving down some enormous focus, baby, plateau. There is chaos. This is how you're reading the book. This is why the spine is messed up on this book. And it just goes and goes and goes and goes until narrower. Circular footnote. It's a journey. It's a whole thing. It takes you through the shapes. Gives you a little piece of music. It's a song by the artist Poe, who is the author's sister. It's all upside down. So wanted to kind of show you a little trailer of some of the crazy shit. And the exhibits are like footnotes and instructions for how to display photo plates that don't exist. Then you have supposedly unrelated things. At some point, oh yeah, then they've got supposed photos of all of crazy stuff from inside this dude's room. Missing. Even going so far, we got the drawings of the house. Possible candidates. The Pelican poems. And the 3 Attic Whale's Tail letters. And I'll just not read these, but I will tell you is that they are a series of letters from Johnny Truant's mother in a dementia home, and she starts sending him coded messages after a while. And those coded messages are like the first letter of every word in a sentence and all that, and it has to do with the things that the orderlies are doing to her. And then she dies, I believe. It's terrible. She loses it too. It's a family thing. Kind of looks familiar, doesn't it? Various quotes. There's literally just a random collection of various quotes, some of which are made up. Or documentation of the guy's room, a photo from inside the house, supposedly. There is a hardcover version of this book with the hex code printed on the inside of the binding paper that goes to the wood. And if you take all of that on both sides, it is a small lo-fi clip of the music, those music notes that were shown earlier, and that picture. Something to do with that, and kind of a low groan. But it's like a really low quality sample. But the inside of the hardcover binding on the front and back cover on the inside underneath the dust jacket is the hex code that, when compiled, runs that clip. So that is Haunted is the album by Poe. It's basically the soundtrack to the book. Curious novelty, very interesting read, but as it says, this is not for you. It may very well not be. Thank you for watching.